Alright, chapter 7, we're almost there, getting there to the end. Alright, so tonight for this topic, we're going to talk about digitizing and how to get paper data, analog data into digital data, into GIS. So we're going to talk about what about digitizing, what it is, how to get what your features are, and then actually how to do it in ArcMap. So digitizing, you really do it for a few reasons. New data, new maps, where you need to correct features that may be incorrect, add features that are wrong. There's a couple of different kinds of digitizing. The first one we're only going to touch on because you may still run into it. It's a very antiquated method. It's called heads down digitizing. Basically, it was using a large, like a drafting table. If anybody knows what that is about a 6-foot square table that you would tape your map down to the tablet and use a mouse-like device called a puck to tell the computer where the corners of the map were and what the coordinates were, and then you would use the buttons on the puck to create a digital version of the features that were on the map. It was very time consuming. Hence the name heads down. You were hunched over this map, and a while ago the Forest Service or the Geologic Survey had a surplus digitizing tablet and asked the department if they would be interested in it. Thankfully, the department politely declined. It's not something you see very often anymore. More modern, more common is heads-up digitizing. This is where you have a base map of imagery or a street map or something, and you use the mouse in your ArcMap to create the features based on the locational relationship with the features on the aerial image. Much quicker, much more pleasant experience to do that. So how do we do that, or what do we get out of it? So the basic types of geometry in GIS: points, lines, polygons. That's what we get out of it, and they have the simple geometry is deceptive. It can have a lot of different attributes attached to that data, but so points kind of fall into three different categories. You have single features. Think of these as features that are represented as a point: fire hydrants, light posts, traffic signals, that kind of stuff. Points can also represent nodes, which are the end points of lines. Okay, and then they can also represent vertex points or vertices. These are intermediate points that give a line its shape, but they're different from nodes because they're only there for shape, not end points. So how do we create our points? Heads up digitizing. You add a single point feature that can snap to features in another layer, such as the intersection of two lines. You can also just you can create that just by dropping points using your mouse. You can also add points as XY events. We saw that a couple of chapters ago, where you bring in XY data. And then in the last chapter, we'll talk about address geocoding and creating points from address data. Lines, again, 2 dimensions. Well, 1 dimension, excuse me. Points have 0 dimensions, lines have 1 dimension, they have length. So they start and end with a node, and then the intermediate points along that line are called vertices that actually give it its shape, because really what you're doing is you're adding a whole bunch of small line segments to replicate a curve or something like that. Attributes, a lot of in a lot of transportation related uses. So you have a shape, which is a polyline, from two attributes. Think of this as the address range. You can have it as from one node to another node. You can also have the length, which can be calculated or it can be estimated based on your need. The third type of geometry is the polygon. This has two dimensions, length and width. By definition, 3 or more lines joined to form a closed area. Closed area is important there. If it doesn't close, it's not a polygon. Sometimes you can have one polygon representing one feature, or you can have multiple polygons representing a feature. Think of the Hawaiian Islands. It's multiple polygons, but it's really one feature, it's one state. So the attributes that you get in the polygons, shape, area, perimeter, and length. So when you are in an edit session in ArcMap, you will have templates that you can build off of. So here we have some examples of points, lines, polygons, and how they may relate in the feature creation tool. So we have bus stops there, we have bus routes, and then we have commercial zones, and you can see at the bottom the construction tools. A point or a line or a polygon, rectangle, circle. Rectangle, circles, ellipses, those are all types of polygons. It just makes your feature construction a lot quicker if so you don't have to draw endless numbers of vertices to create a circle. You can just create a circle. So how do we digitize in ArcMap? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to start editing and how to create these features. So in Arc Catalog, you would navigate to the location you want to work in, either a folder or a geodatabase, and you would right-click on that location and select New, either feature class or shapefile. You'd get a dialog box asking what it's called and what kind of geometry you want to store in it. You want to tell the software what the spatial reference information is, what coordinate system, what zone you're in, and then you can also add new fields to the attribute table. That can be done now, or it also can be done later after you've created your features. So then in ArcMap you would add your base map, your imagery, or whatever you're going to use. You would add the feature class that you want to edit, start editing it, create your features, and then save the features. So here we have an image. This is a vector or a raster image. You can also use vector features such as a road layer or multiple layers. So we have our base map here, and we've also added our points that we wanted to digitize. You would right-click on that feature class layer in your table of contents and select Start Editing. Go through some dialogues to get started, and then you get the Create Features window over there on the right hand side, and you can see it's got the template already built based on what's in your table of contents. So in this case we're going to be adding street trees to this layer. So now you would begin digitizing. You would use your mouse to mouse over and click on the location that you want to add. In this case it looks like we're identifying the trees from the aerial image in this park. Once you're finished, you go to the editor toolbar and you select Stop Editing and Save. Also, as you go along, you can go into the editor toolbar and just select Save, and that will keep your edit session open. I highly recommend that you that you save early and save often, even when you're not editing, even when you're building a map. I would make it a good habit to go in and save every few minutes. That way, if something should happen to the computer or to your software, you're not recreating hours and hours worth of work. So once you're done with that, you can go in and you can start editing your attribute table. Again, if you're in an edit session, you can type directly into the cells in your attribute table. You can also right-click on field headings and calculate values using the field calculator, like we did earlier. Okay, so work through the tutorials, and we'll there is a so the assignment is going to involve some digitizing. As you go through the digitizing on this project, keep in mind that there are multiple ways to skin a cat, if you will. Hope there's no cat people out there. The way this assignment has you do it is probably the least efficient way, but just kind of keep in mind that there are other ways of doing it, and see if you can't come up with an alternative means of doing that, of creating this layer that this assignment's having you go through. Part of your ePortfolio response is to talk about that. So again, if you don't if you don't understand something, if you get stuck, contact me via Canvas, and I'll help you out with what I can.